Oh my God.
Oh shit.
Oh
Wow.
shit.
I
Yeah,
hate music, huh?
I
I
actually
hate
love music
music.
though. What the fuck, man?
Do, oh,
I'm usually fond of it.
this is the first time I'm hearing it. I thought you hated music. Oh my God, it's I Hate Music, episode 96.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, today we're here with my old friend Kelly Shaefer from Atheist. Kelly, how you doing, bud?
Welcome, Kelly.
Fantastic. Just
Awesome.
gearing up, getting ready to hit the road in a few days.
Nice.
Yeah, man,
Sorry.
you are headed out for like 2 months, is that right?
Yeah, 2 months. We did the Shred Fest in North America
Yeah.
with, that's going to be just a blast, a crazy bill with Fractal Universe and Decrepit Birth and Origin and ourselves and Obscura.
Obscura,
So
yeah.
that should be a lot of fun. And then we head to Hawaii, which is, as you know, like a rare opportunity to play a show
Yeah.
in Hawaii. So took a long time to finally get a gig there, and then we're headed to Australia and Japan. So yeah,
Oh
two
my
months.
God.
Awesome, dude.
Damn, that's a lot of territory in 2 months too. That's
Yeah, I
crazy.
wish I could get all the air flyer miles out of that shit.
I
That'd be
know,
great.
no shit. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
you'd have a free
insane,
flight
man.
after all that, dude.
Yeah, at least.
Where are you playing in Hawaii?
On the Big Island, I think it's God, I can never pronounce it. Kolai or something like that. It's a large island, but yeah, it's just we're on our way to Australia, and just thought, well, it'd be
Yeah.
cool if we could hook something up. So the promoter in Australia was really instrumental in helping put that together, and shout out to Anthony. And so
That's
that
just
kind of
gonna be
breaks up
you guys,
at
or
20. What's that?
is that just gonna be you guys in Hawaii, or?
And locals probably.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
would imagine there'll be some Hawaiian locals, which I look forward to seeing.
Fuck yeah,
That's
You
dude.
know, I,
yeah,
I
man.
haven't heard much from Hawaii in respect to metal,
No,
and
No.
we've talked
I don't
about
know
that before,
if
yeah.
ever. I don't know.
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
you think of a Hawaiian band that is
Yeah.
ever? I
Yeah,
can't
it's
think of
pretty
one.
rare. No,
No.
it's pretty rare.
Yeah,
I
Man.
think in
we
general they're happy over there or something. I don't know why.
yeah.
Shit, I'm happy too. I just make dark music.
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about that before. It's like Hawaii and Alaska. You never hear about like Alaskan bands. You'd think there'd be like a shit ton of black metal bands from Alaska.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, why
But
not the same effect that Sweden had on
Yeah.
metal?
exactly.
I just think that there's just so few people in Alaska that they're just
Yeah.
all focused on fishing and not fucking shivering.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Well,
Well, what
and
do
then
you
you
think it is about Florida that came? Even
right.
Florida, it's like the weather is pretty good. Like people are generally happy. Like how did that happen?
Yeah, it's a little tougher to say these days, but
Yeah, right.
but I mean, the
Yeah.
weather's always obviously beautiful. But I mean, I remember, people used to ask that question back in the early '90s and be like, "What is it about Tampa?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "I don't know." We all rehearsed back in the day in these blistering hot fucking warehouses, and it would be there's obviously no air conditioning in a roll up garage, so to speak, and
Yeah.
I don't know, the frustration levels would get pretty tense, and so maybe that lent its hand to some of the extreme music. But I know, I was just thinking about that the other day, that how areas of the world, sort of have represented themselves in extreme metal, and how Florida just, man, it is kind of something from the outside looking in. It's harder being inside of it to kind of see, how what an anomaly or what a weird situation that is. And it's still to this day. There's really a lot of great bands here in Florida.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, as a touring band, coming to Florida is really hard because it's 400 in and 400 out. So 800 miles of touring in the Northeast, and you can hit 7 shows
Yeah.
within an 800-mile radius. But in Florida, if you get 2 shows, that's a lot of miles to travel for. That's why a lot of bands don't
Yeah.
come to Florida. And people always ask me, how come you don't play in Miami? And it's like, well, we got to pick 2 cities pretty much, that can work because it's such a long state. But and to not have that, in New York and DC and places where all bands visit, you get that influence. But in Florida, there weren't a whole lot of bands, sort of coming to Florida and influencing us. So we had to sort of look outward. And
Yeah.
obviously, in the early days, Europe was very appealing to our ears. The early Merciful Fate, from Denmark, and just a lot of the good shit, the early shit, other than Slayer, came from Europe. So
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure climate has to have a little bit to do with some of the the sounds of Florida. metal.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the influence of Morris Sound and Scott Burns and all that. Do you think that had anything to do with the rise of all the bands because there was support from the studio?
I just think it was sort of a facilitator. You know what I mean? When you have a studio like Morris Sound that was willing to do, especially you have to keep in mind that for anybody young out there, like this shit was way outside the bounds
Yeah.
in the late '80s, and I remember in the early days of Morris Sound, a lot of what they were working on was Sabotage. I think they had Collective Soul in there and shit like that. So the fact that Jim and Tom Morris allowed Scott Burns to, because Scott was really the one that was like, yo, I'm a punk rock kid, but I love this metal. There's something fucking weird about it, and he was willing to take on those albums. Now, so that kind of lent itself to Morris Sound's greatness, and also lends itself to Tom and Jim Morris for recognizing that, hey, there's a lot of talent in music that maybe we don't like or we don't want to record that's messy.
Yeah.
But Scott was willing to do it, and it really played out in a historical way. And before you knew it, everybody wanted to come to Morris Sound, and
From all over the world, right? Yeah, people were going. Yeah. It's incredible.
I think about that often. I think if there wasn't a place like Morris Sound in Florida, maybe the Florida scene wouldn't have the impact that it has.
Agreed.
Absolutely
they
legendary.
all kind of, they're all part of the recipe. That ended up making a really great death metal cake.
Death metal cake. Yeah.
Yeah. But you need those ingredients. I think Seattle had the same thing.
For sure.
Seattle had a studio that was willing to record, outside the bounds punk music, and in this new movement in Seattle that was happening. And fortunately for them, they created a scene that made them all millionaires. But
yeah,
in Tampa we didn't do that. We went really fucking underground. And no, but it's nice to see, like Obituary, for instance. I can remember us being just teenagers at a Nasty Savage show.
Yeah.
Watching Nasty Savage like they were just gods. And they were really the band that just doesn't get enough credit and attention for really showing all of us, Morbid Angel and Obituary and Atheist, and just the list of bands all owe so much to Nasty Savage, because they were doing it and they were showing us how to do it. Mm-hmm. And they were showing us how to get a record deal, sell records. Back then tape trading was a big deal. So before the internet. And so we were just so impressed by them and inspired by them, that I think that they're owed a huge deal of credit, along with Morris Sound, for just showing us how it's done. So shout out to Nasty Ronnie.
Did they take you like under their wing kind of thing? Did they show you? They weren't afraid of showing you guys like how to do this instead of.
I don't know that they. I think they were so on their own mission, and they were young as well. They weren't old guys by any means. They were just. We were just teenagers, and they were, old enough to drink and show us how to get down. But I think that they didn't. I think that they inadvertently showed us. I don't know that they really recognized their influence until later. I've spoken with Ronnie and Dave Austin and Ben Meyer. Those guys are still friends of mine to this day, and very kind people, and just great human beings. And I've told them, I was like, I don't think you realize the magnitude of influence that you guys really carried. And Nasty Savage was and it's so nice to see them coming back and doing shows, and even with even though it's with a new band. I mean, that's kind of the business model of today's elder statesman bands, nostalgia bands, or whatever the hell they want to call us,
legacy bands or something. What's the
word? Legacy, that's the term they use often. So but I think that listen, as long as there is an executive producer, so to speak, somebody that makes sure that the content, the quality of what's happening is on the level that it should be, and then on the level that that you feel like the music should be represented in, then people shouldn't have such a big fucking problem. If you can name, if you look at all the greatest bands, nobody has all the original members.
No.
Rare cases. The Stones don't even have all the original members. So people get caught up in, it's just fucking two guys and three fucking, Klingons, or what I mean? It's just disrespectful how fans sort of look at that. At the end of the day, you got to have somebody in this, whatever band it is that that you've supported for years, that you trust to make sure that the quality control is in place. And And you know, what I love about playing Atheist music in these days is that just the quality of 21st century production
Yeah.
compared to the 90s.
Yeah.
Really, what I've found in the last 5 years of touring with Atheist and playing these songs is people are like, wow, you know, they've been listening to those old records for so long and they sound so marginal, you know, and that, you know, just by default, I mean, there wasn't the technology that was available back then. So you get used to hearing those songs like that, and then all of a sudden you go to a live performance and it's fucking just,
It's huge.
yeah, I mean, it's
yeah.
has those songs take on a new life. It's like steroids for the music. And
yeah, we saw
so
you at MDF, dude, and the energy
MDF last
and
year,
the crowd was so energetic. The guys on stage, these are young guys you have, they're fucking intense. They're really into it, and it's amazing. It's truly, really remarkable to see.
And isn't that what makes it fun? You know what I mean? Like you don't want to see a bunch of guys staring at their shoes or fucking, you know what I mean? Like I think a lot of people have a misconception about Atheist. You know, they're like, oh, that's an old band. Yeah, I don't know. A bunch of old guys are going to come out. And, you know, we literally come out like Van Halen fucking, you know. Like, and also I think there's a misconception about technical music, you know, where everything's very fucking serious and everybody's fucking very serious. And we, you know, we take ourselves very seriously and we just don't. We just come out and fucking
you guys are shredding. Like your new bassist, I don't know his name, but man,
he's
amazing, dude.
Yeah, he's like up in front. He's just fucking shredding the whole time with a big smile on his face.
Yep. He demands attention, you know. I mean,
he does.
You know, that's what you should be as a rock star, you know, as a fucking performer. You should be like, look at fucking me. You paid all this money. Look at me, you know. And
we're here
and
for
I'm
you.
gonna give you an experience, you know. And he's tremendous as a band member and as a performer. All the guys that I have now, I say it in interviews all the time, but I just can't, you know, just say enough about these kids. I mean, they not only are they just great talents, and I mean, I can tell you, we just did a South American tour, and you know, if any musician can appreciate this, that you know, we hadn't played. We did the we did a European tour. I get them all confused. We did a European tour with Cryptopsy, and then we didn't rehearse for like, I don't know, a couple of months, and then went to South America with no fucking rehearsal.
Wow.
And the first show was crushing. The last show was even more crushing. I mean, these guys do their homework at home. There's a different level of musicianship and work ethic in today's young musicians than there was back in the day. I think everybody was just, you know, and also, you know, technology helps, you know, to be able to have access to, you know, the music and being able to, you know, practice differently than you could as a musician in the late in the early 90s. But man, I nailed it with these guys, and I just told them, I was like, listen, I don't know how long I had to live, man, but just stay with me, man. And you know, and they each individually have their own incredible bands.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And, yeah. You know, Alex Haddad has Desiderium. Jerry has Ancient Death. Those are both new releases, really, really incredible. Dylan has Fermenter and Beekeeper, and Yoav is actually. We're speaking of Yoav. He's actually a front man as well.
And, I can see that.
I can see him doing that.
Overton from Chile, and so they actually played with us, and that was the first time we as band members got to see Yoav as a front man, and it was fucking amazing, you know. And so I tell them all the time, I'm in awe of you guys. You know, I mean, the delivery that you do with this music is as good as it's ever been, and it just makes me so confident to get on stage. You know, we're playing music that's 35 plus years old.
Yeah.
You got to really work hard to be relevant and to make it relevant. And it's exciting to hear it happen and see it happen. And
did they approach you as Atheist fans, or like, how did you come about finding these kids?
No, so I had a whole nother lineup that when we did the Cattle Decapitation tour in 2019, I had a great lineup then, and we were scheduled to do a European headlining tour. And a couple of days before the tour, one of the guys in the band called me up and said, you know, I don't know, I'm not gonna be able to do this. And I was like,
What
do you mean? You know, and so you guys know, I mean, that's career suicide to cancel a European tour 2 days before it's supposed to happen. So I was just it really crushed me, man. I mean, I had to clear out everybody in the band and find all new members. And so I set out, minus Yoav. Yoav was from that lineup as well. And Yoav has just been tremendous all the way through. And I just couldn't believe that anybody would want to cancel a tour or would do that when, all the bills are paid, the bus is paid for, the merch is paid for, the tour manager's already in Hungary. You know what I mean? It's like there was a lot of people that lost a lot of money, and allow me to say I apologize to all those opening bands and all the bands that were supposed to be on that tour. It was not my fault. It was out of my control, and I would never cancel a tour like that. You'd have to, even through sickness or anything, I'd roll out in a wheelchair to get it done. Yeah. So it was heartbreaking to not be able to tell the real story of why that tour got canceled. And it was right at COVID too. So it was we'd already had cancellations of that particular tour. So 3 times we canceled. So it just was bad business and just out of my control. So I went out to find these new guys, and I auditioned a lot of really great people. And but I got to pat myself on the back and say I fucking nailed it with this lineup.
Yeah,
not only are they great musicians, but just really easy people to get along with. Nice. Very kind, very conscious of people that want their time. Will you sign this for me? Will you talk to me for a minute? Just, those things are really, really important. I think anybody that's ever gone to see a band that they're fond of, and they meet the band, and the band is a dick to them, that stays with you forever.
It's the worst. It's the worst.
And it stayed with me forever. And also on the flip side, when a band is kind to you and somebody you've looked up to for a minute or longer is kind to you and gives you a moment to have a chat or a signing or anything, that also stays with you for a long time. And I've often cited Ronnie James Dio as my personal reason for being a kind person. I met him in '91 when Unquestionable Presence came out there used to be this big thing called Concrete Foundations. It was
I remember that.
Yeah. Huge seminar, and then the whole hotel was closed down to just industry people and rock stars, and it was like when Bad Motorfinger was coming out, and Ozzy was there, and it was crazy. And we met Dio at a blackjack table where Michael Schenker was playing. How fucking great a story is that?
Wow.
First of all, we're I don't know 21, I think, or maybe 22, and there's Michael Schenker and all these people are fucking everywhere, and all of a sudden we look and there's Dio, and he's a very short man. Was a very short man.
Yeah.
So you would notice him anyway, but also it's Dio. So we we had this great conversation, and how you can tell when people actually are kind. Like we introduced ourselves, and then we probably had an 8-minute conversation. And at the end of the conversation, it was me and Steve Flynn, our original drummer. And he, at the end of that conversation, said, "Steve, Kelly, it's great to meet you." Fucking remembered both of our names.
Wow. Yeah.
I appreciate that more now than I did when I was younger, because after you meet thousands of people, it becomes, "Thanks, bro. I appreciate you." Bro becomes very important, and
Because
you can't remember everybody's fucking name, man. But goddamn, if he didn't remember both of our names, and man, I'm 56 years old. That was 30 million years ago, and I remember it like it was yesterday. So it's important.
Man.
Speaking of that, I want to rewind a little bit about the first time you and I met. It was that Scion Fest, and what do you remember? What year that was? That was like, it must have been
2000. It was in a.
That was the
no, I don't.
There was the one in Pomona.
Pomona at the Glass House.
Yeah,
like
it must have been.
Club.
Did Atheist play, or were they?
Yeah.
It must have been right after Jupiter came out or something.
So maybe, I don't know, maybe post 2010.
Somewhere around in there, yeah. But it was, you guys were playing at whatever venue that was, and then it was us, Obituary, and Morbid Angel at the theater.
At the theater.
Thing. Yeah, at the theater.
Yeah, and then we came to the show. We came to that show after we played.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, and we were all hanging out, and I had just met the Obituary guys, which was really big for me because I've always been a huge Obituary fan. And I remember Don and I were like, "Oh shit, that's Kelly from Atheist over there." And we're both like, "Okay, we're just gonna get up the nerve to talk to you." And then we finally did, and then you were like, "Oh, sick, man." And you were super, super nice, and you talked to a couple punk kids like us, and it meant the world to us. And now we've been friends ever since. It's awesome when it works out that way.
Isn't that the way it should be? Why wouldn't it be that way? Anybody, it actually makes me more uncomfortable when people are uncomfortable about saying hi.
Exactly.
I mean, we all shit and wipe our ass the same way, man. No matter what music we create or what we've done in life, I mean, it's people are people, and I always sort of encourage people to be, just come over and say hi. When people write me and say, "Hey, I'm going to see you in Denver," I'm always like, "Come say hello," and they're like, "Oh, I don't know," I'm like, "No." Or I've never been a guy that hides on tour. I like, I don't hide on the bus, and I'm not on the road to stare at bus walls. You know what I mean? I want to meet people. I want to hear stories. I that's my favorite part of doing this in this journey is I love to hear obscure stories about how people discovered our music. That's one of my things that I love. It's like a fetish almost, like how in the world did you in Finland, we were in Finland and we were walking through the parking lot of the venue and these kids were all gathered around a van fucking smoking, and I was like, that's us in 1987 getting high by the van, fucking getting ready to go see the show. So we walked over and they were just like, and we ended up having this great conversation, and I wanted to hear like how does a young Finnish kid and his friends roll around in a vehicle and discover Atheist, and so they they told these great stories, and I've over the years I've had these amazing moments of people telling me some really really I can give you one example. I was in Norway playing this festival in, I don't know, maybe 2008 or 9, and I'm having this conversation after the show with a guy who was drinking a big glass of red wine, and he has a suit on, and he was kind of a big guy. He had a beard and long hair, and I didn't think he was in a band at all. So we're talking, and he was explaining to me. Hold on one second, Jimbo, please, thank you. Guard dog,
Jim dog.
So I'm talking to him, and we're having this great conversation. He's explaining to me how he kicked heroin in the winter with Obituary and Atheist cassettes and a boombox.
Fuck.
And it's just really, I wish that I could, fully, remember everything he said. But anyway, this went on for about 10, 15 minutes. And then I was like, how did you, are you a journalist? And he goes, no, I'm a singer. And I said, oh, what band? He was like, Turbo Negro.
What?
And I was like, holy shit, man. I was like, I just saw you guys open for Queens of the Stone Age. Like, I can't believe I didn't even, he was so unassuming and so nice and kind and so, forthright with his struggle with heroin and that he had, that we were the soundtrack to his sobriety. And I was like, wow, man, that shit matters so much to me. I mean, a lot of people say, you play this kind of music, how come you're not a millionaire? How come you're not rich? You've been doing that. Why would you do this still if you don't make, lots of money? And I'm like, that is currency to me. I mean, that matters to me a lot. And those stories and those moments in life and the travel and the meeting of people. I mean, those are all things you really can't buy, You could be somebody like Elon Musk, but he'll never have that conversation I have with that dude from Turbo Negro. He couldn't buy it, and so I've had a lot of things like that happen in my career that I really value a lot.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about touring and playing shows too, is just engaging with the people, especially when you're traveling overseas and like visiting new cultures, different cultures, and just seeing how something like that can resonate with so many different peoples from all over the world. And we have all these commonalities.
Sometimes it's probably hard to know what your impact is, until you leave your home and you're out there in the world. Then you realize, oh shit, this stuff's really affecting a lot to people. That's beautiful.
Yeah, not only leaving your home, but actually leaving the tour bus for a minute, and going dare walking going to the merch booth afterwards and shaking hands. And I get it. Some people aren't. I'm a super social person.
Yeah, exactly.
So sometimes I have to remember that not everybody has that, that comfort.
That could exhaust some people. Exactly.
And also in metal is a very reclusive sort of mindset. Introverted people are more likely to be into this music. So I've learned a lot about myself, and I've taught myself to be more conscious of that and not think, well, I'm social. Everybody should be social. That's not easy for everyone. So, but I certainly do appreciate it a lot more than most, I think. And, that's why I love to go on the road. It's just a whole month of stories and fun and creating moments as well with those people that they'll carry on for the rest of their life. You know?
And Kelly, you and I have talked about this. I think it was about a year ago or so. You and I were texting while you were in Europe, and we're both just like, we're just like the luckiest people to be able to get to experience these things. And like, we can never take it for granted, because, you know, being on stage in front of thousands of people that are enjoying your work, and you get to travel the world and meet these people, and it's not everybody gets to do that. And
it is such a tremendous opportunity and feeling. There will never be an hour of my life where I will take that shit for granted.
Yeah,
I mean, still, you know, it's funny because people think that performers are super confident and like, oh, it must be so easy. And, you know, people will ask, like, you know, how do you, you know, get ready to perform? And I always I always have a couple drinks, you know, and in some ways, some people have written me letters and say, well, it's not a great influence to show. And I'm like, you know, I'm not here to be an influencer. You know what I mean? Like, you asked me a question, how do I get ready to walk out in front of a lot of people? How the fuck do you get ready to walk out in front of your corporate meeting, you know, in front of 200 people that you work for in a company? Or if you do that, if you even have the nerve to do it, there's not one show where that intro tape is rolling where I feel like, you know, I mean, I'm deep inside. I'm like, fuck. Yeah. You know, this could be the one where I shit the bed, or this could be, you know what I mean? Like, anything can happen, you know, and
it's a lot of pressure.
That never goes away, and I don't want it to go away. You know,
no, you gotta live like that, on the edge of your seat. Like, if you get complacent, then that's
when you start delivering lame shit. You know, I mean, I think that, you know, it's important to feel that humility and that terror, you know, of you know. And these days I even create more terror for myself just to keep me focused. And I don't even do sound check anymore.
Wow.
Yoav does my sound check for me, bless his heart. He goes out and does my mic check. So I don't have to go until it's time to fight.
Wow.
So I use that as an example. Like, you know, going out on stage and playing for a lot of people is like getting in a fight. You know, it's this blur of emotions and anger and beauty, and all these different things happen. And short of getting punched in the face, it's very similar. You know, the anxiety, all that shit that you get on stage, especially for a singer, because, you know, the song ends and now you're staring at a fucking 1,000 or more people. Exactly. The rest of the guys are tuning, having a drink, wiping their face. You're like,
hello.
Suddenly you're a stand-up comedian, you know. So you're like, fuck, you know, I gotta say something that's not, you know what I mean. And so I've just kind of sharpened my skills over the years, and I've learned that inflection is one of the great things of live performance. Like, no matter what language you speak or what country you're in, I always tell young bands this too, like, they'll end a song and nobody knows that the song ended, and it's like this awkward, like somebody just stunk up the room somehow. And like, you have to sometimes, especially with really extreme metal, you got to let people know when the song is over, you know. Thank you. And everybody goes, oh it works every fucking time, you know what I mean? And you know, and I learned that from, in my opinion, Rob Halford, Bruce Dickinson. You know, those guys are great frontmen, you know.
They're in command of the crowd.
The inflection of your voice is important, because if you're in, like, we're getting ready to go to Japan, and I know they're not going to be able to I talk way too fast. You know, they're not going to hear anything, but they're going to hear me go, you know, they're going to, hey! As soon as I go, hey, they're like, they fucking cheer. You know, you got to be a ringleader, man, you know. And so that's a kind of an unsung part of being a front man.
Were you naturally good at that from the beginning, or?
Fuck no, man. I you know, I played guitar and sang in the first part of Atheist, so I could kind of hide behind guitar, and I was pretty much just like a band member back then. And then how I learned was with Neurotica. So when I went in the early days of Neurotica, though, because I was singing and not screaming, I was terrified even more, because I felt like all my underground metal friends were gonna be like, you're fucking singing, fucking sell out. And so that would just roll through my head all the time, and I would turn around and face the drummerizer. And my mom was the one who said, Kelly, you know, she used to come see me play all the time. She's like, you got to turn around. And I was like, fuck, I do. I saw videos, and I was like, you know, this was in 95, 96, before video phones were, you know, where you see yourself. And so anyway, long story short, Neurotica really helped me come out of that shell and embrace. But even with Neurotica, I wore big dark sunglasses on stage. And granted, it was an outdoor performance, so the sun was shining a lot. But part of that was for me to hide. a little bit. So I could look out at people and they couldn't necessarily get eye contact with me. That mattered to me in the early part of that kind of, especially performing for, 10, 15,000 people during the day. I can't tell you how weird that is to look out and see everyone's face and they're all looking at you, but they're all looking at you with different looks. Some with adoration, some with humiliate, some with anger, some with like, fuck you, I don't want to hear this band. There's so much going on the faces of the people that are staring at you, and they're all staring at you. And that can get in your head while you're singing, while you're in the middle of a song. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna fucking hide behind these glasses, and then I would just shut my eyes and just go for it, and then ended up giving me, sort of a false sense of confidence that I turned into. Now I'll fucking climb right to the eyeballs of the person in the front row, and so I feel a great sense of security now on stage. It's nice.
That's amazing. Yeah,
it's amazing to get to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of auditions, I wanted to talk about your audition for Velvet Revolver.
Man, what a chapter that was.
What was that like?
That was bizarre, man. I Neurotica wrapped up after the Ozfest tour in 2002, and I owned a head shop at that time in my life, and a tattoo shop, and so I was just sitting in the shop, and it was in the early days of Blabbermouth, and I was reading through Blabbermouth, and I just saw that they were looking. Slash, in particular, made a statement that said there are no real rock frontmen in music anymore, and I kind of took offense to that, and called my manager at the time, and I was like, "Hey, Neurotica's done. I would like to audition for this," and he kind of blew it off, and I just happened to remember that we had a publicist that was friends with Slash, and long story short, she sent the Neurotica record out to him. He called me on the phone. I missed the call, and I got a voicemail, and then. And I was out at a bar with some friends, and I played the voicemail for them, and I was like, "Holy fuck, Slash just called me! It's crazy." Because I'm a death metal kid still, you know what I mean?
It's crazy.
I'm an underground guy, So Slash was kind of like he was like, Guns N' Roses was kind of my Aerosmith in a way, And long story short, they sent me. Once I got him on the phone, it was a great conversation, and he said that they had gone through. They went through that whole VH1 singer thing, and they had gone through like 600 singers, and all day long they would come in all day and listen to different demos, and he was like, "Yeah, me and Duff just listened to this whole album, and what happened to this band?" And I said, "Yeah, it's a shame. We had a really great opportunity, and two of the guys in the band decided to bow out, so we fell apart." And he was like, "Okay, well, we've written 36 songs, and I'm going to send you 3," and they sent me 3, and I've told this story in a couple of podcasts, but it's I feel like they sent me the 3 worst songs they had.
Okay.
And to see if here, let's give him the shittiest songs and see what he can do with them. And no disrespect to them, but I think Slash would agree that of course we did. I'm going to send you the best ones. And so he said, "Yeah, write your lyrics, do your thing, send it back." So I did, and then Duff and him called me on a conference call and said, "Come to LA." And I was like, "All right." So off I went to LA, and Matt Sorum picked me up from the airport, which is weird because I was a huge Cult fan. And obviously, him in general. It was just weird. Again, there's above ground and there's underground. Those are church and state, in a lot of ways. In music. So I found, and I didn't mention anything about Atheist. I mean, in my opinion, I was terrified that was going to fuck it up for me. If they, because sometimes people have personal religious beliefs and they don't understand what the word atheist means, and they misconstrue it for Satanism, and it's just a fucking nightmare. Yeah. So I just kept it from them, and we went into rehearsal, and what I quickly found was I feel like, I had never been around a group of people that kicked heroin. You know what I mean? And there is heroin for a lot of musicians, and I can understand this a little bit. Is a bit of like that super hot fucking girlfriend that you had that was crazy as fuck that you couldn't maintain the relationship with, but you always think about her. And that's what heroin is for a lot of these guys. So I think they were looking for somebody who was troubled because they weren't anymore. You know what I mean? Right. They wanted to kind of vicariously kind of get behind somebody that was in that world. And the reason I say that, and I had my shit very much together. I had all my lyrics together, and I came in, and when we rehearsed the songs that I had recorded and sent to them that they liked, we just came in, and they had cameras, and they were recording all of it. And so it was, talk about tense.
Yeah, dude.
That was like, you know, and it was a, I don't know, 20 by 40 room with Guns and Kelly. You know, I mean, I was just like, holy shit, I'm literally 10 feet away from Slash. And one of the songs that we did, one of my favorite moments of that whole thing was we get to the part of the song and I finished the vocal and Slash soloed at me.
Wow.
And I was like, yes. That's the best shit ever. That's one of my favorite things. I'll be in my dying bed and I'll think of that moment that Slash turned and soloed at me. Like, you know, how many people he soloed at Michael Jackson, he soloed at Axl Rose, he soloed at fucking at me. Death metal me. Wow. So that was nice. And it went really well, man. And I ended up staying for the weekend. and then I went in. They brought me in a studio. It was right at the point when Izzy quit. Izzy was a part of it Izzy Stradlin was a part of it at that point. But once he found out that there was a singer involved, he just bailed. And so I did those songs, and then they brought me in the studio to do another song that they had just written. I never got to hear that finished product. But then I came in that Monday to do rehearsal with them again, and I left LA with that gig. You know, I mean, Slash was very excited.
Wow.
And then Scott Weiland became available, and you know, I get it. They you know, 4 million copies. And I also think that, to my point earlier, that they saw Scott as troubled.
Yeah.
Talented and troubled. And they were like, ooh, you know, that's our world, you know. And, but it, you know, listen, that was a great record and a great moment in rock history. It was, you know, Velvet Revolver had some really good music. So I was just proud to be a part of that story and make it into Slash's book, his autobiography.
Oh, really?
You know, yeah. Like, you know, there were 650 singers, you know, a lot of way more famous than me. I mean, you know, the guy from Lit and all these more popular bands, but I somehow managed to get a paragraph in his autobiography. Shit like that matters to me because my kids will see it when I'm gone, you know?
Yeah, that's so cool, man. I'd never heard that whole story. I just knew that it happened, but I didn't really know what was happening with that. That's
it was something,
crazy.
man. I remember going through, sorry, Duff McKagan picked me up for rehearsal one day. In a Mercedes, like an old school Mercedes, not a super nice one. And we went through the car wash together. We sat with a stick in his hand, just like anybody else. That's amazing. Sitting next to like this guy who I know is just a fucking icon. And it couldn't have been more normal. It was just you know, little things like that. I don't know, are just kind of funny to me to tell a story. I'm sure people can appreciate how awkward that was for me. To sit next to Duff McKagan while he's waiting for his name to become McKagan or fucking Mercedes or whatever the hell they yelled at him to come get his car.
I love stories like that. I totally just love stories where these people become normalized and you're with them and you're all of a sudden you're like shopping for diapers with like Jeff Tate or something. You know, just like
a car wash is one of those things that no matter who you are.
Here's
your ticket. Go sit the fuck down. I don't care what kind of car you have or where you come from. Yeah. There's your fucking little piece of wood. You go to sit and wait till your name's called, and then you get to go. And I was just like, wow. And then another cool one was when we went to after rehearsal, we went to go have burritos at this Mexican place. And so we roll in, and I had ran out of cigarettes, and I was like, fuck, is there a place I could get cigarettes? And Slash was like, I got cigarettes, and he gave me one of his cigarettes, which. Again, like one of those moments for me as a smoker. I was like, I fucking smoked one of Slash's cigarettes. and then we sat down at the table, and it was like almost like eating at Taco Bell. It's like a real small place, and it's me, Duff, Slash, and Matt and Dave Kushner were all at this little table. And nobody in that fucking place looked twice. And I'm thinking to myself, holy fucking Guns N' Roses is sitting at a tiny table in a kind of a Taco Bell, you know, with some random me, you know, and just I don't know. I guess you just kind of forget that everybody, you know, again is just a fucking human being at the end of the day. And LA is one of those great cities where they're allowed to be themselves. They're allowed to have some normalcy on some level. So those are fun stories for me as a underground guy to tell people because it's you know, it's not every day you get to experience that as a death metal kid. So
that's so cool. I love it. I love that story. I've heard that Slash autobiography is pretty good, actually. Did you read the whole thing?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
I did. I didn't know that I was in it. I just read it because I was interested.
Oh, that's so cool.
And so yeah, that was really cool. And so I love autobiography. I love to read where people feel vulnerable enough to write about their intimate stories and stuff like that. That's how you hear the real shit, and so I've always been a big fan of those things.
That's so cool. Wow, that's a great story. You guys are working on new material, right, Atheist?
Oh, we didn't realize. That's awesome, dude. Nice.
Oh yeah, we've been caught up in a fucked up contract situation for 7 years.
Oh,
and the more time that goes on, the more I feel like I want to talk about it because I'm getting real fucking tired of this shit. We're being held for ransom by a record label that everybody knows. And at the time that we signed the deal, there was a different lineup. This was when Steve Flynn was still in the band. And we had to travel in order to write songs. We still do. But I mean, that was in the contract that we needed part of that budget for that record to be able to, for flights, to be able to get together and write the song, And they were like, well, we need to hear demos and we need to see a rehearsal schedule. And we were like, it's the chicken or the egg, man. You know what I mean? Like, first of all, we gave them an example. We did a record for Season of Mist, Jupiter. And, to Michael is the CEO, Barbarian of Season of Mist, and to his credit, he signed us and sent us the check and never heard a stitch of music until the record was done. He believed in Atheist. He signed and invested in Atheist in a way that I maybe didn't appreciate as much as I do now. And shout out to him for allowing an artist that and Michael, I think, had been into Atheist since he was in his teens, and he talked to us for probably after we did the reunion in 2006 and we reissued the records on Relapse. He was like, you should do a new record, and we were like, man, I don't know, I could easily get fucked up, and but he stayed persistent, and then finally, 3.5 years later, we agreed, and because we got in a room together, me and Steve Flynn, and we realized, oh my God, there's this really special energy that happens between me and him that created the first song we wrote was Second to Sun from Jupiter, and it was a quintessential Atheist in my opinion, and so it was exciting, and so we were like, okay, we'll do this record, and he wrote the check, sent it, and didn't hear it until the final mix. And that did not happen with this new deal. They wanted this, they wanted that. We had to jump through this hoop, that hoop, and we were like, fuck this, and essentially they breached contract, but because they're in another country, we would have to litigate that in another country, so it creates a problem. So that was fine for the first couple of years, but now we're 7 years into this.
Yeah.
We're being prevented from making new music by this record company.
Oh, God.
So this past, once I got this new lineup and I realized just how great they are, and I realized I just really want to make a record with these kids, and so we started writing, and we've I personally logged, I have a little home studio, and I logged at least 4 hours worth of detailed structures of songs or riffs, that are put together with harmonies and everything. Because I still play guitar every day, and I just don't play on stage anymore. And so I had all my stuff, and they've got all their stuff, and so we have this folder, a Google folder full of riffs, and so we've been working together like that. And then we, for each of the tours, we fly out to San Diego where our drummer lives, and he has a rehearsal thing there, and so we've gone out on a couple of occasions and then just done a couple of California shows just to pay for us to be able to write for a few days. So long story short, we're like 7 songs in.
Nice.
We've got 7 songs written, and fucking amazing, really exciting. And the cool part about it is anybody that knows our catalog knows that there's no 2 records that are the same. It's Atheist. You can tell it's Atheist, but it's not the same. We never make the same record twice, and that's kind of going to happen again, where there's all these atheisms musically, things you would expect to hear from us, but all these new sort of ingredients, and I'm excited about it, and I can't wait to finally get past this business.
Did the record deal thing have to do with the Till the Dirt? Is that why you did that? Because okay.
No, Till the Dirt was me having COVID happened, and my wife was a frontline worker at the time, and she was working at like a Publix stocking grocery store. Her normal job got shut down.
Oh, wow.
She decided to go in and be a frontline worker and making sure the groceries were available. And I had all this time on my hands. I had a 4-year-old at the time. Thor was only 4 years old, and I had this just a tiny desk with 2 little speakers and my laptop, and I discovered all these guitar plugins and stuff thanks to Mark Lewis, who's a great producer of a lot of great metal. The STL Tone Hub is they've created these packages from different producers of these tremendous guitar sounds, like just that they model in the studio, and then they, you can buy the package. And so anyway, I got that cooking. And for me, I'm an old school guy. I've been an amp, I never knew that was possible. So I was I was like a junkie myself on recording every night. So I would sit down at 7 o'clock every night and start working on a song, and my wife wouldn't get home until maybe 3 a.m. And that's how it started. I would start a song and almost end a song every day for about 6 weeks. And I put together like 26 songs.
Wow. Jesus.
And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know it wasn't Atheist, and it wasn't Neurotica. I was using my singing voice and my screaming voice. And plus I was also, and I've told this story a couple times, but I all through Atheist, writing songs was all about smoking pot for me. Now that's what opened the doors in my brain for Atheist music. I never drank liquor and wrote songs. And so anybody, your brain is this, it's this thing, and it responds to things differently. And it was the first time I ever, and I drink Jägermeister. And so I would do a couple shots, and I was writing things that were way more sort of risky than I would talk myself out of it as a pothead. I'd be like, I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't want to do that. But the recklessness of alcohol allowed me to just fucking make all this weird ass music. And
amazing.
I would do the vocals. If you listen to the Till the Dirt record, almost all those vocals were done at like 2:30 in the morning after like 4 or 5 shots. And then some of the screams. I mean, even Travis from Cattle was like, "Dude, those are your best highs ever." And I'm like, I just didn't give a fuck. I was recording it. My little boy's sitting on the couch watching Paw Patrol. I didn't have a booth or anything, so I didn't have a pantyhose on the mic. I did it with a 58, just super raw as fuck. And to me, that was like, man. And then once Scott Burns became involved, once Scott heard the first few of my demos, that's when I got really excited, because he was like, "Dude, I don't know what you're doing, but this is like, you got to keep this formula. Like, don't change it." I'm literally just, I'm in the most bare bones scenario, wrote that whole album, and ended up signing with Nuclear Blast. And so that came out just out of pure,
amazing.
I'm super proud of that record. I'm super sad. I feel like Nuclear Blast really just kind of threw it out there and didn't fucking do anything about it. But I think that record will come back in 5 years. People will go back and listen to that and be like, it seems to be the thing with me in my career. Like, nobody gets my shit until fucking a decade later.
You're way ahead of your time, dude. That's for sure.
I don't have a lot. Well, I don't mean to say that I say it in a frustrated way. I don't say it in an arrogant way. It frustrates me that people don't get my joke until they don't clap until 5 years later. Like,
that was
a great joke, man.
Do you feel do you feel like Atheist is more popular now than it was back in the day?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Jesus, I mean, 100 times over.
I was talking to Paul about that too, and because I feel like you and Cynic kind of had like a similar trajectory with that type of stuff. And I was on tour with Paul in January, and I brought it up, and he's like, "Oh yeah, like Cynic is like so much more popular now than like everybody hated us in the '90s." I don't know if people hated Atheist in the '90s, but I definitely did. They
threw things at us.
Yeah.
Jesus. Literally, I've told the Cannibal Corpse story a million times where people threw dog food at us. Dog food. Imagine the disdain you must have to bring a can of dog food with you to a metal show, open it, dig into it, and fucking throw it at us. Like, how angry must you be to do that? How shitty must we have been in their eyes for them to throw fucking dog food at us? And that just always makes me laugh when I think of that. Someday I hope someone will write me a letter and be like, "I'm the dude that threw that shit."
Yeah.
I would like to meet him. Like, I would shake his hand now and say, "That's hilarious, man," because you fueled us in a way you'll have no idea how much that fucking stayed with me for years and years. But it couldn't have been. We were lucky to make $100 a show on tour, and it was very difficult to tour back then. And we were just that's why the band inevitably. That's why Steve went back to college, and he was just like, "Dude, nobody gets this fucking music." And I went on and started Neurotica, and in my eyes, Atheist was done. And then we got a call from their record label and said, "You have to have this new record in the next 40 days. We need to have a record in our hands." I was like, "I don't even have a fucking lineup right now. I'm recording Neurotica music. I'm in a studio in Gainesville hanging out with River Phoenix, fucking making Neurotica music. I was in a different world, different headspace." And I quickly put together this lineup, of great musicians, and then Elements was created in that amount of time, from riff 1 to the final mix. 40 days, man.
40 days. That's insane, man.
Fucking nuts.
And you guys know how that's just fucking nuts, man.
Unheard
Even
of.
if it's a rock record, even if it's an DC record, where it's
Yeah.
just simple, that's fucking hard, man, to
Yeah.
get all that done. And so I love that record for that reason, you know. And you know, all these years later, when we play in Eastern Europe and South America, that record is king. That record is the most popular over Unquestionable and Piece of Time.
Wow.
But so yeah, it's really weird. They love that Latin shit. And
I was gonna
and
say
it's,
the Latin shit. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. 40 days. That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
Why did they pressure you like that to do it that way? What was the?
I mean, you know, I guess I mean, maybe I guess I should have known contractually, but I didn't know. I was high, I was young. I didn't know what the hell was going on. And I thought, well, we quit. You know, we're done. Steve went to college and it's over. I didn't even think about the contractuals. We didn't have a lawyer. We didn't have a manager. I was just flying by the seat of my pants. And so when I got that call, I was like, oh shit, I don't want to get sued. But here's the thing that I was thinking is I want to roll on with Neurotica. I don't want them to prevent me from moving on with my music career. That was something they said is you signed an exclusive agreement.
Oh geez.
And once I found out what that meant, I was like, oh shit, well, I'm not going to be able to go on with this band if I don't do this. And so honestly, that was the early reason. And you know, and the guitar player, one of the guitar players, Frank Emmy, I had just seen him play one time with this band called Gentleman Death. And I saw him, and I'm always I always see talent that way, you know. I mean, our current guitar player, Jerry Watansky, I saw him on YouTube when he was like 15 years old.
Wow.
Playing Atheist songs.
No shit.
And I logged that in my brain. And then when he was like, I don't want to say 17, I asked him to join Atheist. And he was like, oh, I still live with my mom, man. He's like, I can't do that. And I was like, oh, all right, man. And then a couple years later, I asked him again, and he wasn't ready. And then this last time I asked him, he was like, okay, man, I'm ready. But he was ready musically a long time ago. Super talented, super kind kid. And, you know, now I think he's 25. And he's been in the band for the last couple of years. And God damn, what a rock star, man. He's the kid that plays the flying V on stage.
Yeah, it's incredible. Fucking A.
He's just a throwback, man. He reminds me so much of myself, you know. But he's far more handsome than I was, and he's you know, I can't say enough about him. And then you have, you know, our other guitar player, Alex Haddad, is this studious mastermind, and he has a band called Desiderium. It's a black metal band, really incredible vocalist and songwriter. There's just so much talent in this band. That was what really excited me about making, you know, a new Atheist record, because they all have vocal capabilities, they all have multiple instrument capabilities. The sky's the limit on creativity. So me as a painter, I'm like, oh yeah, look at all these colors and all these paintbrushes. Look at them all, you know. And that's just exciting to me to be. I know that anything I think of, they can play. You know.
I think of you as kind of the mastermind of Atheist. Is it a lot of pressure to kind of fit things in a mold of some way, or are you open to just?
No, listen. The shit, anything that makes your hair stand up, you know, that's kind of the cue for me when somebody writes a riff and it's like, oh fuck, man. Yeah, it's, you know what I'm saying. Like it's there's a level of, I think, you know, my experience and also understanding what atheists should, you know, the level, the bare minimum of hair standing that should happen in an atheist rip. Yeah. So, and they also, credit to them, especially young Jerry, who's been into atheist since he was, you know, forever. And he really just grew up on our music. So he's this. I actually sometimes, you know, will make sure that I'm staying on part, because, you know, he's a fan, you know. First and foremost, he was a fan. I was like, do you think this is, you know, is too outside the bounds, or is this in the real house where it needs to be? You know, I don't want to be that old guy that's like, God damn it, I'm
has to be this way.
You know what I mean? I don't want to be that guy. I want to make sure that I fucking stay.
And the foundation of Atheist is progression, right? It is like trying new things and being outside the box. So
not being like we were, but using that same formula, that same philosophy of, you know, moving the boulder as opposed to leaning on it is my phrase that I always, you know. There's a lot of bands that kind of lean on the technical metal boulder, never moving that fucking thing. And I think that you have to keep moving in music. You can't just keep borrowing. You know, eventually you know that doesn't work out for music. And so I subscribe to that philosophy all the time. And humble enough to understand that as I get older, maybe I am a little out of touch, and I need to refer to my youngins.
Yeah.
And say, hey man,
I really like that concept of like of having this new band, this all new band, these younger people that can inject new influences, fresh blood, new perspectives, and it's like you're steering the ship, but they're also steering you too, you know.
Oh, 100%.
And that's amazing.
And that's what makes it a band, you know. That's what kind of makes it. It's not what fans are easily on social media. They love to just give their fucking 2 cents on. Oh, I think it's fucking. You know,
don't listen to that shit. No, fuck
I never have, man. But it's still irritating to read. It's like, God damn it, you don't even understand what you're talking about. Yeah. You know, you don't understand how hard it is to procure new music from a 35-plus-year-old band and have it be fucking relevant, you know. And you know, when we went away before we did Jupiter, even, you know, that is 17 years since we had made a record together. And you know, the fact that me and Steve were the captains of the ship kept it on track, and that chemistry was there, and that enabled Jupiter to be. And a lot of people have listened to that record and said, well, you know, the bass isn't as loud and the bass isn't as prominent, but that was really intentional. That was not we felt like, listen, Elements has all the bass you ever want. Piece of Time has all the bass. You know, we're gonna keep fucking, you know, drawing the same picture. Or I really wanted to make a really heavier. I wanted a guitar heavier record, because one of the things about Atheist that was difficult for us amongst our peers was people were like, oh, it's so fancy. It's so, you know, I'm going to hear more heavy. And it's like, okay, I do too. You know, I'm not a fucking ultra jazz head where I need to just lay it back. I love ferocity and brutality. I love it just as much as the kids do. And so that was me and Steve, you know, that was a conscious decision that a lot of people that reviewed that record felt like they knew what was up, and they're like, well, you know, without the, you know, Tony Troy and the Roger Patterson, the bass is just, you know, hidden. It wasn't hidden. There's a lot of great bass lines on that fucking record. You just have to go back and listen to it. And I think that Jupiter now, I'm honestly seeing on social media so many more people going back and listening to that record like, oh, fuck. And another thing was, people were like, oh, it's fucking modern production. Sounds like shit. I'm like, so what? So do we go back into a garage with a, you know, like a room mic and you know, and one in the kick drum only, and then you want us to record it like that? And will that make you happy, Joe from Chicago? Fucking whatever, you know what I mean? Like people just, God, you know, social media has created this, and I wish it didn't bother me, but it does, man. I read it and I think, come on, man, I want to go to each one of their houses, just like Bill and Ted.
Yeah, exactly.
And go to each. And did you say that this production on this new record, you know, did you say this right here? Let me fucking explain something to you.
Were you aware in the early 2000s of these new modern you know, technical bands like Obscure and Decrepit Birth, and how the Atheist was influencing them, or did that come to you as a surprise?
Well, it wasn't until I got the internet, really, which was, you know, 2003, you know, where the internet really started to become this thing where, well, actually, you know, the coolest thing is when we first came back and decided to reissue the records, we were like, oh, maybe we could play some shows. And so this guy, Rich from Brutal Truth, he's the drummer for Brutal Truth, if you remember that band, he was an agent at that time. And what's that?
Richard Hoke?
Yeah. I couldn't remember his fucking last name.
Yeah, Hoke, I think, yeah.
He was our agent at the time, and he got us that gig that comeback gig at Wacken and Hellfest, and
nice.
And he you know, that was in the early sort of stages of it. And when we went and played that show, that's when we kind of realized that the internet had played a huge role in allowing younger people to be exposed to the music. And because we literally got on the plane to Germany thinking, you know, be 100 old guys sitting there fucking, you know, like we had meet and greet set up, which was terrifying. You know, I was like, oh my God, and who's going to 17 years, a long time, you know, to come back. Man, it was fucking unbelievable. And that was the first seed in the forest that we've created since then, you know, so.
That's
wow.
amazing.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, it's so interesting to see how popular technical death metal is like right now in 2025, and all of these, like Nick mentioned, these newer bands that, and even like older bands that are doing it but are directly influenced by bands like Atheist or Cynic that, you know, come from that Florida scene. And now it's just like the scene's lousy with these technical bands. They're like everywhere. It's amazing.
It does
is
seem like
quite. I mean,
they're talking about it though, right? They are saying atheist influenced us, cynic influenced us. They're talking about it. They're not just, so that
well,
helps hopefully.
I don't know. That's arguable.
Oh,
If I'm being honest, I mean, and I can also attribute this to brutal bands like Cannibal Corpse and fucking Morbid Angel and Obituary. Bands like Slipknot, they don't fucking bring us out.
yeah.
They're not bringing bands like us out, and that's fucked up.
That
Because don't pretend, Slipknot, that you created the fucking wheel. Because the very wheel you're fucking rolling down Millionaire fucking Row with was fucking all those spokes were put in by hand by fucking bands like Obituary and fucking all the classic bands. So one of my gripes in this business is nobody's reaching down and pulling up the bands that fucking laid the groundwork for them, and I don't think that's fucking cool, man. And I would like to see that change in the future. I think that that's just that's how things get better, and I don't care, I think they let agents and the business influence them. Once you get so successful, you don't really care anymore, but you can never forget to care. And so we're just Slipknot, fucking, bring death metal bands out on the road with you, man. You don't need help with your draw.
No.
I mean, you're going to draw all the people you need to, but you know what it means to expose a brand new fucking killer death metal band or underground or technical metal band and to that many people all at once. It's a tremendous thing. We played with a band called Soen. Have you ever heard of Soen? They're Swedish, kind of like Swedish Tool. And the drummer was the original drummer for Opeth. And Jesus Christ, he's gonna kill me. But see, I don't want to fuck up his name. Martin, I think is how you pronounce it. But we played with them in Costa Rica, and they had this huge progressive rock audience, and it was us and Cryptopsy. And obviously, we played before Cryptopsy, and we went out and played our weird ass music, and it just got this overwhelming response from these people. Are like, who the fuck are who are you, and how do we not know about you? And all that night after we got off stage was just full of people just like, wow. And I was thinking to myself, like, this would happen more often if bands like Tool brought out heavier bands. Exactly. And I don't want to just rag on Slipknot, but there's a lot of bigger bands, that just don't forget where you came from, man. Don't forget how hard it is to be exposed to that many people, and don't just let some agent be like, oh, we need all these popular bands. No, you don't. You don't need, if you're Slipknot, you don't need the opening bands. You should use that as your opportunity to expose people to great new music, because us as fans, that's what it's all about. How exciting is it to go and hang out on a Friday night with your friend and be like, check this out. Yeah. Check this new band. That's still my favorite thing, to send songs to people and be like, check this shit out. Does it make you feel like I feel? Sleep Token is one of those bands. Everybody loves to talk shit about Sleep Token, but get the fuck out of here, man. That's a fucking incredible band. Like, the musicians are incredible, the lyrics are incredible. There might be some very puffy sort of stuff that makes metal guys uncomfortable, but I love that shit. I think that's an incredible fucking band that has just shot up through. I can't think of a band in the last 2 years that started off playing for 75 people. And they went to the level, selling out a North American tour when AC/DC can't even sell out a North American tour right now. Fucking Linkin Park can't even sell out. They're having problems selling tickets. They sold out in 15 minutes. And I love shit like that. And I think that, I'm not a huge fan of all of Sleep Token shit, but I'm a fan of them and their ability to create something different, man, and dip their toe into different kinds of music and do it within the realms of 8-string fucking heavy ass guitars and moments of brutality. So, but I'm it's funny in the I have so many thoughts on all of that stuff that sometimes I have to like watch myself, because I feel like I say too much, but I'm a fan of music. I have so many opinions on all these things, and I'm really just a lucky guy that's in a band, a fan of music that's in a band that managed to stick around for 3.5 decades. And so I'll never lose that part of me,
Yeah.
Awesome.
35 years, man. That's
insane.
Yeah. It's an accomplishment. That's fucking crazy. I actually haven't checked out Sleep Token. I've heard a lot about him, but I've never listened to him. I'll check him out.
God damn, the drummer's just fucking unbelievable. Like, you know, and he's not the focus of the band. The singer Vessel writes these lyrics that are some of the most beautiful pieces of poetry and I love great lyrics, you know, and I love wordsmiths, you know, guys that can say things. It's a huge thing with me. It's really important to be able to say something in a different way, because, you know, you can say common things in an interesting way, and it just makes it so much more fun in the dialogue. And yeah, this guy, like, nobody knows who they are. Nobody knows their identity. They've, you know, they all have masks, and typically that wouldn't be my thing. Like, I didn't like Ghost. I wasn't a huge Ghost fan. I just felt like that was, I don't know, but there's something about Sleep Token, man. That's they've got some really dark shit lyrically, and also some really beautiful stuff. But then when you look at each member of the band, you look at how the songs are constructed. I just can't say enough about them. It's one of the, you know, the best new band. There's a lot of great new music that I love. You know, I think that kid Tim Henson is a fucking alien. You know, that guitar player kid that I think he's Polyphia.
No.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Polyphia. Yeah. That guy's insane.
He's just, yeah. I mean, you know, he makes me excited about the future of guitar players and underground metal, because not only is he fucking, you know, a rager, but he just has this blues quality, this bending quality. One of the things on guitar that, you know, sometimes you don't need 18 notes to say something. Sometimes you can just bend a note in a way, and there's not a lot of new young guys that are sort of rolling with that philosophy, and everything is just about how many notes can you play. And you know, in today's music, as we all know, there's a lot of crutches. You know, there's a lot of like fake shit going on. You know, and that guy is 100%. You could throw him an acoustic guitar and he'll fucking blow your mind. I have very impressed with him musically. I don't know him personally, and I don't know. Hopefully he's not a dick. You know, he'll come back and haunt me in an interview, but. Hey, good is good, man. You know what I mean? And so I think that, you know, it's important to recognize new young talent. He's one of them. Yeah, there's a long list of guys, you know, that I could just go on and on about. Just I can't believe the level of musicianship.
It's insane, dude.
When we started.
What do you think that has to do with? Is it the YouTube videos and shit? Like kids are studying a lot earlier, or what?
Yeah. I think yeah, there's an exposure. There's also a convenience level of you know, sitting at your laptop with endless great guitar tones at your fingertips. You know, I mean, I remember in the early days of writing atheist music, where I didn't even have a 112 cabinet. I had a combo 10-inch speaker with a microphone on it, and that was my sound while we were playing. And the funny story about that is a band like Entombed. I don't know if you've ever heard the story of Entombed and how they came up with their guitar sound and created that pedal. Yeah. If you read the story, they were seeking the demo sound that we had on the Ravage demos.
Yeah.
You fucking believe that?
Yeah.
That blew my mind when I read that story. I was like, that couldn't have been the worst. That was the worst guitar sound that could ever possibly be created, and that's what they were seeking. And not only did they seek it and find it and perfect it, but they created a legendary career out of that dirty fucking nasty.
Well, and their second record, Clandestine, they say they're trying to write an atheist record with their second record.
Those stories don't get told enough, you know. That's a great thing, and I had a great honor of having some great conversations with LG in the final year of his life. And
I love LG, man. Yeah.
And you know, and it's funny because we played with him in Sweden the very first time we went to across the pond to play. And have you ever seen Napoleon Dynamite, the movie?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
So if you look at the boots he's wearing these like ski boots, like black high top. Skiing boot. So I fucking bought some of those before we're going to Sweden. Stupid American. I was like, I'm gonna get these boots, and I wore them, and I'm sitting backstage, and you know, anybody that studied Atheist knows that we never looked like a metal band. We always looked like Florida boys, and you know, Steve always had shorts on and an FSU shirt, and so we were very confusing visually. You know, whereas Destruction looked like, you know, bullet belts and all that. We just weren't that. We didn't have that, and so I'm sitting backstage with LG, and he looks at my shoes, and he's like, Are you going to go on stage with those? And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. I'm going on stage. And he just looked at me with like, ugh. And so I mentioned to that him, as we were, 30 years goes by, and I mentioned that to him in one of our final conversations, and he laughed about it. We both laughed about it. He was just, back then it was like, you had to, people were like, well, you got to have spikes and fucking nails and be dark, and you can't dress the way you dress and sound like that. And that was the thing. That was a kind of a carryover from, I think, the hair metal shit, where, image was so important.
Yeah, exactly.
And it wasn't until grunge came along.
Yeah.
Where image just went completely out the window, and that bled over into the metal scene too. Whereas, you don't have to come out with fucking Kerry King fucking nails in your arm to be fucking heavy as fuck, and it's not a prerequisite. So it's fun it's kind of sometimes fun to be old and look back on the 4 decades of how this has progressed and how this has moved through so many different waves of attention and the styles and people often make fun of they see an old picture of Obituary or Atheist, and we all had those Richard Simmons shorts on. That's probably so old in reference that most young people are gonna be like, who the fuck is Richard Simmons?
Yeah, Richard Simmons.
So he used to wear these really short shorts that and I would wear like high top white sneakers with the tongue sticking that way out, and so, like, we just dressed in half shirts, like guys wore half shirts back then, and so guys they're like, ooh, what the fuck, man, you wearing a chick shirt? And it's like, no, dickhead, that's how it was in the 80s, young blood. Fucking, it was different. So
well, you seem to be still really inspired, and like you really want to grab it still, so where's that drive come from to keep going and doing this?
I mean, it's infectious, isn't it? I mean, even as collectors, even just as fans of music, I don't know any other life, man. I mean, I love the way music makes me feel. I love to go see a band that, one of the things that I hate about people is when I love to see a band. I would love to play after a band that just fucking smoked us. You know what I mean? That tried to smoke us. You know what I mean? Yeah. I like that spirit of competition, I've never taken offense to that. And there's so many of the older bands that get so you only can have this much space on stage, and you can't have your backdrop, and it's like, and you can't use this, can't use that, and fuck that, man. You go out and you do your thing. You don't hold others back. You go out on an equal playing field, and it matters to the people that bought tickets to the show. That you're not sticking this band on a small corner of the stage just because you have to appear like your dick is so much bigger than everybody else's. That's not something that I like about modern playing, and I don't ever want to be that guy. And so I still have that same piss and vinegar I had at 15 years old about bands and playing live and seeing bands that are great and giving them their props. Like shouting them out. I love to see great musicians. I'm never threatened by anything. I love the talent level. If you look back on the old interviews with Atheists, people used to say, like, where do you see this music in 10 years? And I would in the early days, I would say people need to learn how to fucking play. Learn how to play their instruments, learn how to tune, learn how to, tune. If you make a record and your guitar's out of tune, come on, man.
Yeah.
You're failing everybody there. You should be able to tune your fucking guitar and have a decent guitar sound. And that's what happened. Not only did that happen, but it happened 10 times more than I ever could imagine.
Yeah, totally.
And look at it. It's a huge forest of talent. Whereas it was just one tree back then. It was one tree and another one grew beside it. It's called Cynic. And that was the early days of technical, extreme metal. And now it's hard for people to realize just how hard it was for us to. I mean, we both had the same route too. We both went on tour with Cannibal Corpse. We both got fucking yelled at and ridiculed, and it's just, I think people can appreciate, if they hear the story like this, appreciate just how lucky we are to be able to do what we do, and how lucky the bands today. I always liken it to paving a road. Back in when cars were first created, back in, I don't know, the 40s or the early 40s, and there weren't smooth roads. There were dirt roads. Cars were like ding, 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 and you can only go so fast. I like to think that Cynic and Atheist sort of paved that road to be able to smoothly go down and create this weird music that people were like, okay, This is a different kind of extreme metal,
Yeah.
but we're gonna listen to it and give it a chance. And now, not only has that happened, but it's now it's just flourishing, and
It's incredible.
so it's exciting to be a part of.
Yeah, so cool. Before we wrap this up, Kelly, if there was one Atheist song that you'd want to pick to listen to right now, what would that song be?
For me to listen to, or somebody else?
For us to share. Like if
Oh.
somebody had never heard Atheist before and they're listening to this podcast, what would you want them to hear?
Fuck.
I know that's like an impossible question.
I mean, I guess, man, no matter what song I pick, it's gonna be fucking weird to somebody that's never heard Atheist. But maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not these days.
I mean, that's
For
kind of the
extreme
point.
metal people, I mean, I would go as simple as Unholy War, which is just as bare bones as Atheist ever got, with while they're still. And I would also say Unquestionable Presence is a song that I'm really proud of after all these years. That song in general has a little bit of everything. Oh, did we lose? What happened? Oh, is somebody else there?
No. This is just I'm sharing this.
It's sharing the screen.
Yeah, it's just sharing the screen. Yeah.
If it's a song where I wanted to like show a young technical guy, like, hey, check this out, I would say a song like Brains. Brains is a song I love. It's in our set now. It was never in our set for a lot of years, but so yeah, Unquestionable Presence or Brains and the Psychic Saw is a great journey.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. That's
that song's got a lot of old school and new school, and a lot of forward thinking riffs in it and stuff. Like even today, it still hits.
Yeah, Mother Man's one of my favorites too.
Of course, dude. Of course.
Pound for pound, that's the one of my favorite ones to play live, because it really is just a tightrope walk of, there's no click track, there's no fucking none. It's just it is a live, living thing that happens, and it's different every single time we play it. Every fucking time. That's another thing that we didn't get to talk about a lot is modern bands are doing everything to a grid. And songs. That's why people's ears, I think, are going back to older music.
Yeah.
Your ear doesn't want to hear that grid.
Yeah.
Like it wants to hear a song that's pulsing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
too mechanical or something. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's missing in today's music. So I encourage young bands to, walk a tightrope without a net one time and see how fucking cool your music sounds. You know what I mean? Because it really is. It really does matter. And I get it. You want to have the ability to go back and fix something, and you have the grid. Because I made the Till the Dirt record on a grid, and so I'm not exempt from doing it. I just think that there's a huge charm to playing without a click. And a lot of bands that we play with these days and tour with, their set is pre-written. It's to a click in their ears, and everything has to be exactly that way every night. And we go out and switch songs up and change our set and pull an audible at the last minute on something. And I like that rawness.
Well, it's more raw, and it leaves. There's more room to breathe. Lets the songs breathe. They're living organisms instead of just
Absolutely.
like a chart or like fill in the blanks. Like it's a
and
living,
that's the way it
breathing
used
organism.
to be. Led Zeppelin never played the song twice the same way.
Yeah, exactly.
And so if you were there watching them play in Chicago or fucking Detroit back in the late 60s, you saw something that only the people in that room saw. You heard one version of a song you may love, but it'll never be the same ever again. You got that experience, and that's why you bought the ticket. And I think that fucking really matters.
It does.
And it's something I have pride about with Atheist. We've never played to a click track ever, never live, never in the studio. And music snobs can be like, speeds up and slows down. It's all over the place. Yeah, fucking whatever.
But
it is.
That's life. That's how life is.
That's right. Very good.
Yeah. All right, man. Which one do you want to listen to? You listed like 6.
No, I didn't mean to do that. I shouldn't have done that. I guess go with and the Psychic Saw.
And the Psychic Saw. I love that one.
So the Psychic Saw, yeah. The good one.
All right, let's check it out. Here we go.
need of it all. To set the stage while the vision will be overcrowded by the whole world to
Got a little bit of everything in it.
So good, dude.
Damn. What's wrong with you, man? That stuff's crazy.
That song is a journey, man. It is it's like, you know, it gets to the middle and it feels like it's gonna be over, and all of a sudden it just goes into a different place. And yeah, I just, you know, it's one of those songs that it's really fucking probably one of the hardest songs to play live, even over Mother Man. Mainly for the middle section, just that.
Oh yeah.
It's just a fucking weird ass metal moment. It's metal, but it's clearly not. But it works out that way. But yeah, I'm so proud of this of all the guys I've ever played and created music with. They're all just incredible talents, and I'm as big a fan of all of those guys. Steve Flynn's drumming. I mean,
oh man,
talk about
incredible, dude.
Let me just say this in closing. Fucking that guy is criminally underrated.
Yes.
When people speak about, you know, the greatest drummers, like, he never gets mentioned. Like, how dare you keep that guy's name out of the conversation? Like, there's nobody. There might be people that are better or faster or heavier, but nobody plays like that guy, man. He is just a fucking. You really have to dissect. I think on one of our reissues, we included a bass and drum track.
Yeah, I've heard those.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Of Mother Man, where you can really kind of just hear and focus on the two of them, you know, Roger Patterson and Steve Flynn as a rhythm section. I'd fucking put up against anybody, you know. And I wish that it was. I wish Roger was still alive to see this, because he would be just, you know, me and Roger were roommates. We were very close, very good friends, and losing him, you know, so he was only 22 years old.
Yeah,
he would just be a fucking Goliath performer right now. I mean, I highly doubt that we would have been able to keep a guy like Roger. He you know, he was just so talented, but incredibly humble and just naturally gifted player. And you know, I'm just so glad that those records are cemented in time, that they didn't disappear. It's one of the greatest things about, you know, in you know, being at this stage in my career, is just looking back and being happy that that Roger's still appreciated. I think he's been gone 34 years now.
Wow.
And still today, people, every show I hear about him, and I love that. And so I hope that after I'm gone, 34 years after I'm gone, people will still remember me.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, man. You've created quite the legacy.
You have.
I hope so, man. Only for my kids. I have an 8-year-old little boy who I won't be able to watch grow old, you know what I mean? And I wrote a song on the Till the Dirt record called Watch You Grow Old, which was about that. And I typically don't write about myself or anything. I mean, usually like to leave it very vague, but it's one of the few songs I've written about it. Sort of a personal feeling of being an older father. I have a 33-year-old son. I have a 20-year-old daughter, and I have a 8-year-old son. So there's a lot of fucking
spread out.
Yeah, man.
And so I really want him to, you know, I would love to be able to see him, you know, graduate school, get married, have kids, all that. But, you know, realistically, that's a crapshoot right there. If I get lucky enough to do that, it'd be great. But I spend all my days in music right now trying to leave behind great memories for him, and leave behind as much of a legacy that when he does have kids, and maybe even when they grow up and he's a grandpa or something, you know what I mean? I hope that the music stays where you go, look at your crazy fucking grandpa.
Yeah,
look at this fucking
man.
guy. You know what?
I love
what a
that.
nutshell, you know? And so I really, I really think about those things a lot, you know?
That's so cool. Well, Kelly, man, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a
My
pleasure and an honor.
Yep.
And keep in touch. I think you're up in Portland.
Yeah,
soon.
May 17th. I was just looking that up.
Yeah,
May
but I'm.
17th.
Are you both in Portland?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're both in Portland, but I'm going to be down in California doing those Emperor shows at the same time. So,
Well, I'll come and see you, Kelly. I'll come and see you.
Okay, well, write me a letter and I'll put you on the list. And
well.
man, I'm sorry that I wish you could both make it out. That'd be fun. But I love Portland too. That's a great metal fucking. We had a great show in Portland with when we were with Cattle. It was a lot of fun. So I look forward to playing for that. that audience
Yeah,
again. That was a very progressive metal audience in Portland. I think.
Yeah, I'm bummed. I'm gonna miss you again. I missed you at MDF. I missed you last time in
Well,
Portland.
maybe we have to tour together at some point. What's going to happen with Aguilar?
I would love that too. That'd be awesome, man.
How's Don doing?
Oh, he's great. He's great. He's got his kid's like 4.5 now, so he's.
Can I tell you that one of my favorite things to do in a bar is pull out that YouTube interview.
So cool you did
where,
that.
Where he does that master class on film metal.
Yeah.
And the first time I met Don, I felt terrible because actually it was you were in the band at the same time, right? That was the Pomona thing.
Yeah.
So
the science.
I didn't know that much about Agalloch until I married my now ex-wife, but I mean we've been together for 10 years. She was a huge Agalloch fan, and she really kind of turned me on to it. And that happens to me a lot, where I don't know about a band, or a person will reach out to me, and I'll be like, oh, I didn't fucking know, and so I discovered that way. But yeah, the way he spoke about Atheist just
intellectual. It's amazing.
But man, it just made me so proud, made me feel so much more worth than I had before listening to it.
Oh, that's great.
So I tip my hat to him and thank him for taking the time to do that, because it's a moment of pride in my career where I can have somebody as smart as he is explain the difference between the progression between Black Sabbath in the 70s to Atheist Unquestionable Presence, where he looked at classical music where it took 400 years. Like, I just thought that was a great an example, and he's just so smart guy. I wish I knew him better, so reach out to me, Don. We need to talk more, He's a smart guy.
He's great, man. He'll be stoked to hear that. But yeah, man, keep in touch, talk soon, and thanks again, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right.
See you guys all out on tour. Get that Shred Fest, motherfuckers. Get them tickets.
Shred Fest, that's right.
Fest. See you, man.
Right.
Yeah, we're starting in San Diego next Sunday, a week from this Sunday. Wow. So the 20th, Easter Sunday Atheist.
That's great.
I love that.
Awesome. All right, cheers, man.
And it's 420. So that's a double step.
Is it really? Oh my God,
420
it is.
Easter Atheist. Come on.
Perfect. All right.
Amazing.
See you guys. Love you, man. Appreciate it.
Later. See you, man. Bye.
That was great, dude.
What a guy.
So good.
Jesus.
He just makes it so easy to talk to. He's got so many great stories. He's one of those guys that's just been around forever. So fun to listen to. And, the origins of fucking death metal, basically. He's been there since the whole time.
Yeah. No, it's so cool because Kelly and I used to talk quite a bit, like back when we first met, and then we just kind of fell out of touch. And honestly, I didn't think he remembered who I was, because like, why would he remember? Because we only talked a few times, 15 years ago, and then the last couple of years we started getting back in touch, and he's like, yeah, of course I remember you, dude. And so he's just like a super good guy, and I love talking to him because he's so inspiring. And he's so passionate.
Got the energy still.
Yeah. And I think that's so important to me in a person and in an artist, like having that gratitude, having that they still feel inspired. They're not like, he's not sitting there being like, oh, the fucking music scenes these days, and oh, fuck this and fuck that, and it was so much better back in the day. He's like, I'm living the dream, man. I'm on top of the world. There's so much to create and explore, and that's the only way to be, man.
And he has a perspective of what he remembers being a kid and being, absorbed and influenced by bands and seeing them play and wanting to talk to people. He never forgets that. No. And you do that really well too, man.
I try to, man. It's really important. It's interesting because like he has a lot of stuff that he was talking about. I have similar stories, but I don't want to like be like, oh yeah, me too. But man, I feel a lot of the stuff that he was talking about.
Should we do a show where we interview you, or?
No, hell no. No, every episode I get to like insert myself in there a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit here and there.
Yeah. But I mean, I know what he's saying when it's, it's like these people get up there and it's like, oh, you have to have like, like I don't even know what to say, but like lording over the other bands. Like I know how easy that can be.
Yeah.
But I feel like Agalloch's always been pretty good with that, but it can be difficult because you have to put on a show too. And, all this, but it is really important to be grateful and to be humble and to, when you can put yourself out there and meet the fans. It is a delicate balance. I've definitely had those nights where I'm like, I'm fucking exhausted.
Like you're tired. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been on the road for 3 weeks or whatever. Like I just need to get in the bus and go to bed or whatever. But I always find I do get FOMO when that happens. You know, there's been a couple times where I've done that, and I'm like, well, shit, you know, because I was tired, I didn't go to this place and meet these people and connect with the fans in Thessaloniki, you know? So, but man, what a cool guy.
Can we remember, if you can, somewhere, or put the link to that Dawn interview? Because it's really awesome.
It is. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Me either. I'm actually going to review it, I think, after this, but it'd be cool to link that somehow.
Yeah, or maybe we could play it on the next episode or something.
I mean, it's pretty long, isn't it?
Is it? I think it's like 20 minutes or something. Okay. I don't know. Maybe it's longer than that.
Yeah.
But I'll link it or maybe share it on the socials or something. It's been a long time since I've watched it.
Because Don talks so eloquently about atheists. You know, it's really cool to, you know, not a lot of us can talk in that way or whatever. So
he's
like an educational, like, you know, academic way or whatever.
He's definitely got a specific way of communicating, and he's got an analytical mind that he has honed over decades.
Yes.
So yeah.
And being a teacher is definitely, you know, he's got a different world where he has to be an educator like that and speak like that and all that stuff. So.
Well, and it's super interesting to hear him talk about subjects like metal, or specifically death metal, in that way when that's not the norm. You know, you and I can be like, oh man, we can examine it, and like we'll have like some deep thoughts or like profound things or whatever. But it's not like we like compare it to Black Sabbath and how fast atheists progress compared to Black Sabbath and why that happens. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. But cool. Man, that was great. I was so happy to get him on. It was a little bit of a scheduling thing with us for a while. It was worth the wait. He's been touring a lot, and
he's a busy guy, man. 2 months he's gonna be out now, so we caught him at the right time.
We caught him at the exact right time, and they're working on a new record, so I thought it would be a good time to do it.
That's awesome. I didn't know about that. I didn't know about the you know, the distress with the record label and stuff.
I didn't either. I knew about the record that they're writing, but I didn't know about all the label shit. I don't know which label that is.
I wonder if he still writes on guitar, or he lets.
I think so. Yeah. I think he said that. Yeah, I think he was saying even in this interview that he had like a little folder of stuff that he was working on.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
but yeah,
because I was going to ask him about that. I was also going to ask him how his voice is holding up. Seems like it's doing pretty well, but it's probably pretty hard. He's all over the place with his voice.
Those screams, man. Yeah. And have you listened to that Till the Dirt record, Mike?
Yeah. I was listening to that earlier, actually. He does a lot of cleans in there too, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Oh, he's texting me right now. Oh yeah. Kelly says, that felt great, eh?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's
great.
Amazing, dude.
Yeah. So awesome. I'm bummed I'm gonna be gone for the show.
Well, you have good excuse.
I'm just playing with Emperor. No big deal.
No big deal.
Yeah,
it's one of those fucking shows, though, dude. Look at this: Obscura, Atheist, Origin, Decrepit Birth. It's gonna be like starts at 6:30, ends at like.
Oh god, there's like 20 million bands. It's probably at Bossa Nova, right?
At the Bossa Nova, and it's just like a little festival, you know.
Yeah. Man. Yeah. Well, you know how I feel. About those. Those can be rough sometimes.
Yeah.
But man, I would love to see Atheists again. Every time I see Atheists, they're just fucking top notch.
Well, I hadn't seen them since the reunion. Well, I hadn't seen them in the 90s either. So yeah, first time it was at MDF. Did you ever see them in the 90s or?
No. I saw the first time I saw them was when we played together at Scion Fest in like 2010 or whenever that was.
Yeah, it was. Must have been around then, yeah.
And then we saw MDF together, and I feel like I saw him. Oh, I saw him with Cynic like 2 years ago.
Nice.
Did we? I thought we saw him at MDF twice, didn't we? 2 different years?
I definitely saw him last time.
Definitely last time.
Yeah. Did they play the 2 years before that as well?
That seems unlikely.
Yeah, I don't remember now.
I don't know. Doesn't really matter, but fucking
good.
Great band. So before we throw in the towel on this episode, do you have anything coming up?
Oh, geez. There's lots going on, right?
Yeah. I feel like
there's lots going on. I saw Kraftwerk the other day. That was awesome.
Oh, did you? Nice.
Yeah. Let me look at my calendar, which rules my life, you know.
Me too, man.
Couple local shows. Peste and Numbrum's playing next Friday, maybe, if you're interested in going out.
Okay.
I don't know what you're up to, but I got my Neon Wizard project coming out next week.
That's right. New project. NW is NW.
Yeah, new project. So that's next Friday. I got that Pub Mouse coming out too on tape May 2nd. Obituary, dude. April 29th.
Yeah,
We have tickets for that.
we got tickets for that.
We do. I'm sorry you're missing clipping. Sorry.
Yeah, I was not able to get clipping tickets, but I am stoked about Obituary. So
Yeah, that should be good. Was David going to come to that one as well?
Yep. David's coming to that one.
Good. Deceased is coming
Oh yeah, I saw that.
May 9th.
Where are they playing?
That weekend you're playing up in Seattle.
Oh yeah.
That's at High Water, dude. That's insane.
Oh Jesus. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be gone for that anyway.
Yeah, you'll be gone. Yeah, you have a very busy May, dude.
I have a very busy May. Yeah.
I'll see you in England, I guess.
I mean, that'd be weird if we didn't see each other.
I booked a hotel and everything. I'm ready to go.
Nice.
So hopefully, I don't know your schedule or anything. I don't know if you do, but we'll work it out.
I don't really. Are you going to be there for a while?
Yeah, I'm the day before and until the day after the fest. So I'm sure to catch you. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to be there for like a week or something.
Oh no, in Scarborough, only in Scarborough those days. But yeah,
okay.
I'm leaving the 26th. I'm coming back the 12th of June. So
okay, nice.
Like 3 weeks almost. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, you know how to do it, man. I'm get there Friday morning and I leave Monday morning.
That's what I figured. So I was like, oh, I know I'll catch him a little bit here. So
no, I mean, obviously I'll be around the day I play. But I get in. I think I actually get in the day before we play.
Oh, cool. Perfect.
Like maybe, well, we're flying into Manchester.
Yeah. Oh, you are? I was going to say.
Yeah, we're flying into Manchester, and then there's a shuttle picking us up in Manchester with Moritz, and then our tour manager, and then we're going up from there. And so I think we'll get there like the afternoon of the day before. So I'll probably be at the fest a little bit the day before.
Okay.
And then I think
we might play on the second night or the first night.
I think it's the second night. I think we play on a Saturday.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I
that's
think
right. 31st. Yep.
And then I think we play on Sunday. I don't know. We leave.
I think it's just 2 nights. 31st and 1st. Oh yeah, you're right. It is Sunday then. It's 2 nights. 31st and the 1st.
Okay.
Must be a bank holiday as they call it or something on the Monday. Like so why would they have the fest on a Saturday and Sunday, you know?
Right. So I think we play Sunday night and we fly back home Monday.
Okay. So I'll see you Sunday and hopefully Saturday.
Yeah. We'll see each other for sure. I got to get back home for Ellery's graduation.
No shit. Insane. What day is that?
I don't know, but it's like that same week.
Yeah.
So
congrats. Amazing. I can't believe it. She's
graduating high school.
Crazy.
Yeah. So May next month, Agalock Northwest Terror Fest.
Yep. May 7th and 8th. I think that one is.
Sounds right.
8th and 9th or 9th and 10th. Yeah.
I think we play the 9th, which is Friday, I think. And it's almost sold out. So if anybody's thinking about going to that, you should probably get tickets now because it's like I was told there's less than like 30 tickets left.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, so we're doing that, and then we're doing the 2 shows with Emperor in the middle of the month, L.A. and San Francisco at the Hollywood Palladium and the Warfield, respectively.
Insane, dude.
And then at the end of the month, we're doing the Fortress Fest, like we mentioned.
Did we get tickets to Tormentor as well? I believe we did. That's May 12th. So
May 12th. Okay.
Star Theater. Yeah. So after your weekend,
man. Yeah. Okay. Damn. Yeah. And then
because Hunter must be staying in town because
he's staying after Northwest Terror Fest for a few days because we're flying out to California like on the Wednesday or something.
Okay, so that's one of those days. Yeah.
Yeah. Shit.
I hope he can still go. Damn.
I wonder if he'll want to go to that. I wonder if I'll just make him go to that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it was just announced like 2 days ago. Finally, I can mention it, but Agalock's first time in Brazil.
Insane, dude.
So we're playing, I don't know how to pronounce it exactly, but Setembro Negro Festival in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And then 2 days later, we're doing that Candelabra Fest in Mexico.
Fucking awesome, dude.
We're going to go like this, fly all the way down.
Oh my God.
And then fly a little bit back up.
Up, halfway.
Then, yeah. It's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah. I wish you could stay longer sometimes. But
yeah, we leave Monday morning and we're back Monday afternoon. We're going to make it, it's like 6-hour trip total.
Shut the fuck up. I can see you doing that.
No, actually, we don't have our flights or anything yet, but it is going to be fast for sure. Which is, it is what it is, whatever. But First time in Mexico, first time in South America,
That's
obviously first time in Brazil.
Dude, I wonder. I'm really, really curious about the fans down there and stuff because we've heard.
Yeah. I mean,
big things.
I've been told from people who are in smaller bands than Agalloch, like you get off the plane and there's people like waiting with like autographs and signs and stuff like you see in the movies. You know?
Exactly.
So I think it's going to be a pretty big deal. So
I'm excited for you.
it'll be an experience.
Fuck yeah, Will.
Yeah. Fuck, man. Anything else? Got anything else coming up?
I can't think of anything. Nope. I'm playing on the 18th in May at NoCon with a couple other Dungeon Synth guys.
Okay.
That should be fun. So yeah,
Good.
things are good. I put my new album out. It's going really well, man.
Oh yeah, the new. I can't even keep track of all
I
your
know, got a lot of shit
comings and goings.
Yep. New Traveler's Rest. It's really proud of how the tape turned out. It's fucking beautiful, dude. Jeez.
Yeah, man, it looks great.
Thank you. I designed all that.
Nice. In Premiere?
Photoshop.
Yeah.
What's Premiere?
As like a package, I think, from Adobe.
Oh,
I think it's I don't know. I'm just talking out of my ass here at this point. It's like on my list to pull the trigger on getting some kind of like Photoshop /
Well, try that Adobe
video.
Express. That's at least an easy one to start with. I think it's cheaper too.
Is it video and?
Yep. Yeah, you see that golden video I did?
Yeah.
It's on there.
Express. Okay.
Yeah.
But you can do photos too. That's what you use for everything? Express?
Yeah, well, no, not everything. You can't do everything, but you can do simple stuff.
Okay.
Big Dolvin news coming up too. We're gonna make the album announcement next week.
Yep.
It's gonna come out June 13th.
Nice. Third Dolvin record, man.
Yeah, this is great.
Jesus.
So great. Lots of shit going on, dude.
What a time to be alive, man.
Kelly Shaefer's still out there kicking ass, and we're putting out albums.
I know, man.
Amazing.
Yeah, it is crazy. And we're recording another episode next week.
Yes, good. We have
don't say.
Yeah, we have a good guest coming up.
We have another death metal legend coming up. Yes.
Awesome.
All right, man. Well,
all right, dude. Have a good day.
You too. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right. Bye.